Fozzie looks really bad right now. She looks so scraggly. It is possible that another chicken is picking on Fozzie. I really hope that's not the case, but it could also be a few other things. So we're gonna talk about it, I'm gonna think about it, and at the end of the video, I'll let you know why I think Fozzie is missing feathers and what you can do if you have a feather picking problem in your flock. Hello friends, welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. Bubba, you look beautiful. You're not missing any feathers. And look at my new jumpsuit. It's shorts. I need a belt. It needs a little bit of form. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna put you down. So I am actually pretty proud right now because Chickenlandia looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. My chickens look pretty good despite knowing that some of them are losing some feathers because I can see some feathers around here. I almost fell. Since I've been doing this for a long time, I'm not gonna panic yet. I'm gonna go through all the reasons this could be happening and then I will handle it if I need to handle it. But I might not need to do anything because it might not be anything to worry about. So the main thing that we're talking about in this video is feather picking, and that is a form of cannibalism in chickens, which nobody wants to think, oh, my chickens are cannibals, but that's what it's called, and it's called that because usually, you know, a chicken will pick another chicken's feathers and they'll eat those feathers. Sometimes they'll just drop them, but usually they'll eat those feathers. And so it can become a real issue in a backyard flock. It is a compulsive behavior that usually begins when chickens are juveniles, but it can really start up at any age. It's really not something that we want to deal with because it's stressful. And once a chicken is in that cycle, it can be hard for them to get out of it. So while I'm not exactly sure what is going on with Fozzie, I do know that at least for some of my chickens, the reason why they might be losing a few feathers is because they are molting. Molting is when a chicken will drop their feathers and grow in new ones. It usually happens, oh my gosh, who is that? Okay, thank you, Jolene. Thank you for the egg. Molting usually happens in the late summer or early fall, but it can happen during other times of the year, and there's a few different reasons for that. You guys have seen recently I got two little chickens. One is Pickles. She's a little Serama chicken. And then I also got Vega, who is a tiny naked neck Old English chicken. Both of those chickens have gone through a molt recently, especially Pickles. She really dropped a lot of feathers when she got here. And the reason for that is that she has just gone through a very stressful situation. I mean, she lived in the lap of luxury inside someone's house up until very recently when she came to live with me. And not that this is a worse situation for her. Obviously, this is a great situation for her, but it's very different. It is a big change in her life. So when chickens go through a stressful event, that can push them into a molt. Now, when I got Vega, she was a juvenile, and juvenile chickens, from the time that they're little fluffy baby chicks to the time that they reach adulthood, they go through several molts. And a lot of times people panic during this time because their teenage chicken just looks absolutely scraggly, missing feathers on the neck, missing feathers on the chest, and they think that there's bullying or feather picking going on, but really it's just a juvenile molt. So when Vega got here, she was likely already going through a bit of a juvenile molt, and then she has had some feather loss since she got here, but nothing that is super noticeable. A few months ago, I got some chickens from out of state. So they came here, they had been through a very stressful situation, and within the first couple days that they were here, one of them got sick, and by the next day, a few of them were sick. And I was like, oh my gosh. But we got through it. I consulted with a veterinarian. I also consulted with my homeopath, because you guys know I like to use homeopathics on my chickens. And We got the chickens through it. They're fine now, but I did notice my little chicken Nessie, she's my little modern game bantam with the funny long legs. She was missing some feathers there for a little while. You could really tell, like on her chest, she was missing some feathers. And I do believe that is because she went through a bit of an illness. It was a mild illness. She got through it, but it did push her into a molt afterwards. She's absolutely fine now. I'm pretty sure she's laying eggs, but that is something that can happen if your chickens go through not just a serious illness, but maybe an illness that you didn't even know that they had. They go through it, and that pushes them into a molt afterwards. Another thing that can not only cause feather damage, but can even push your chickens into a molt if it's a really stressful situation, is that you have too many roosters and not enough hens. So usually what I recommend to people is to have at least 8 hens per rooster. Now, I say that knowing that every chicken is different, every rooster is different, every flock has a different kind of personality. So you might be able to get away with less hens per rooster, and you might actually need more hens per rooster. You will have to be the ultimate judge of that situation. But a rooster, if they're overmating the hens because they only have a few hens and they're really feeling it, you know, it's springtime, they can cause feather damage and feather loss. Like, that is something that can absolutely happen. The other thing that I want to tell you, if you suspect there's some feather picking going on in your flock, I just have to ask, did you actually see a chicken pecking feathers out of another chicken and ingesting those feathers or dropping those feathers? Usually they're going to eat those feathers. Have you actually seen that behavior? Because if your chickens are just taking a dust bath and they're pecking at each other, that is very likely not cannibalism. It's not feather picking. That's a supernatural behavior. Like, they're kicking up dust and they're taking their little bath. Another chicken will be taking a bath next to them and she'll be pecking at their feathers, and she's just kind of doing like a preening behavior. She's not actually eating the feathers or picking feathers off. So if you're seeing that, don't worry, that's a normal behavior. But what if what you're seeing is definitely not normal? Like, you've actually seen your chicken picking feathers off of another chicken and eating them. So if that is what's happening, don't worry, we've got a plan to stop it, and I'm going to tell you about it. Okay, so number one, if your chickens are on wire, get them off wire. And I know some people have breeding programs and stuff. At the point that you are observing these kind of cannibalism behaviors, you really need to change that environment. So get them off the wire, put them on the dirt and grass, let them have that natural behavior of pecking and scratching. Number two, if your chickens are overcrowded, you need to fix it. Just handle it. Chickens need at least 2 to 4 square feet of space per standard size chicken in the coop. 2 square feet of space is on the low end. You only want to do that if your chickens have a lot of other areas within their chicken yard or within their area where they can get out of the elements. If the only place that they have to get out of the elements is their chicken coop, you need to have at least 4 square feet of space per standard size chicken in that coop. And within the run, you really want to have at least 10 square feet of space per standard size chicken within the run so that they just have enough space and they don't get into these compulsive behaviors. Okay, number 3, make sure your chickens have enough space on the roost at night. The best case scenario would be 10 to 15 inches of space per standard size chicken on the roost. That's a really good scenario. You probably don't need that much, but if you're observing them and they are crowded on the roost, that could be a reason for feather picking, and they could be doing it as, you know, at dusk as they're getting situated. It's just causing too much of a pecking order thing going on, and some chickens are picking at other chickens, pulling feathers, and then possibly getting into the habit of eating them. So we don't want that. So make sure they have enough roost space. Number 4, make sure your chickens have enough nesting space. So again, best case scenario, 1 nesting box per about 4 to 5 chickens. You just want to make sure that there's not squabbles going on over nesting boxes. It can happen even if you have 20 nesting boxes. You know, they'll pick their favorites, but you don't want it to get so intense that they're starting to pull feathers out of each other. It is so easy to create nesting areas for your chickens. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Just make sure that there's enough of it. Okay, number 5. I think I am numbering these correctly. Number 5 is make sure that your chickens have enough enrichment within the space that they have. So if you have your chickens in an enclosed run, you really want to make sure that they have enough things to do in that run so that they don't get bored and get into compulsive behaviors. You know, can you hang a cabbage in that run? Can you put a flock block in that run? I have a video about a do-it-yourself flock block. I'll put that in the description. Don't go to it yet because I still have more to tell you. Make sure they have places to dust bathe in their run. If they don't have places in their natural environment, you need to add in those places so that they can do these natural behaviors, pecking, dust bathing, jumping up on things, all that stuff, and not get into compulsive behaviors. The next one is make sure your chickens aren't getting stressed out. You know, maybe there's something going on that you have not realized is stressing your chickens out. Make sure that there's not predators coming around and really like scaring them. You know, sometimes that can happen. The other thing is if there's like construction or something going on, or really loud noises that are going on near the coop, that could be stressing out your chickens. So maybe it's beyond your control. If it is, there's a product that I use called Rescue Remedy. I'll put a couple of drops of that in their water and usually it helps. But if it's something that you can control, then definitely change it so that your chickens are not getting repeatedly stressed out. 7 and 8 are really important ones. Number 7 is if a chicken is injured, make sure and remove them from the flock, because injuries can lead to not just feather picking, like they might pick feathers around the injury, but they could actually really cannibalize that chicken. It has happened. It is awful. Nobody likes that side of the chicken pecking order, but it is a reality. If you have a chicken that has an injury or some kind of irritation going on, make sure to remove that chicken from the flock and handle the situation before you put them back into it. All right, this is the last one. I think it's number 8. I don't know. I only know chicken math. I don't know regular math. Make sure your chickens are getting the proper nutrition. I do have a video all about feeding chickens, getting the proper nutrition into them, making sure they have a balanced diet. I'll leave that video in the description. But the other thing that I want to tell you is if you are feeding your chickens a mash diet, so it's like the mash ones are usually raw, scratch and peck is a mash. There's a lot of really good quality mash feeds out there. I love the mash feeds. I think those are the best feeds that you can give to your chickens. But if you are having a feather picking problem, what I want you to do is, at least for a few weeks, to test it and see if it helps. Either ferment that mash feed, or at the very least wet it down when you give it to them, and you kind of create a bit of a gruel. But what you're doing is you're making sure that they're eating every part of the feed. In those powdery parts of the mash feeds is very important nutrition, and they need to be eating that. So you might find if you ferment it or if you wet it down that you will see less feather picking in your flock, because they're getting the whole feed. They're getting all of that nutrition. All right, so try that. So let's say you've tried all these things. Everything is going great in your chicken yard. You're not having a stressful situation going on, and you're still having this feather picking issue going on. So it might be time to get the chicken that is doing the feather picking and remove that chicken from the flock, either permanently or just remove them. You can start out with maybe a week removing them from the flock, giving them some really good nutrition during that time, and seeing if when you put them back into the flock, that can kind of break that cycle of feather picking, that compulsion to do it. Another thing that you can try is there is a product, My Favorite Chicken sells it, that's where I get it. Full disclosure, I'm an ambassador for them. I love My Favorite Chicken. So they give me these products to try. There's one called Pick No More, and I think I am going to try that on my chicken Fozzie, because I think what she's having on the back of her head is some feather picking. And now that I'm thinking more about it, Fozzie is in her first year of laying. A lot of times during that first year of laying, they will molt during the spring and they will actually lay during that molt. So it's kind of rough for them. That can happen. I think that's what's going on with Fozzie. I'm fairly certain that she is still laying, and I think she's also going through a spring molt. So whereas a lot of spring molts, you don't even notice them, I am noticing it on Fozzie because she's such a prolific layer. So that's what I think is going on. I think I figured it out. I was thinking about it a little bit before this video. So there's another thing that I wanted to mention really quick. If you feel that the feather picking is being caused by bullying, so like there's a pecking order problem in your flock and you think that's why a particular chicken is getting its feathers pulled out, then that is another situation you really need to remedy. I do have a video all about that. It's about the pecking order. It's about some things that you can do to fix that. It is, yes, Zorro. It is on the screen right now. And it's 100% friendly. Backyard chickens, education, and entertainment. And I know you're gonna love it. Zorro, what have you done to Fozzie? She looks really bad. You need to stop.